Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to RetroPic. Now onto our topic. They call it security. They call it self-defense. They call it Pan-Africanism. But in Eastern Congo, the reality feels very different. War by proxy, destabilization by design, and leadership cloaked in rhetoric that masks violence on the ground. For years, Rwanda's president Paul Kagame has carefully cultivated an image as a disciplined, visionary African leader, a symbol of post-genocide recovery and strategic governance. Yet behind the polished speeches and international summits lies a brutal and destabilizing conflict unfolding in the mineral-rich lands of the Democratic Republic of Congo, where millions of civilians have been displaced, entire communities shattered, and the humanitarian toll mounting. The M23 armed group, which has seized territory and pushed deep into Eastern Congo, did not arise spontaneously from local grievances. It re-emerged stronger, better equipped, and far more organized than any local militia should be, a force that the United Nations and Congo's government linked to significant external support. Long-standing reports from the United Nations and Western diplomats have accused Rwanda of backing M23 with weapons, logistics, and operational support. The evidence of this involvement has become so strong that even Rwanda's closest allies have openly challenged it. In recent days, the United States has explicitly condemned Rwanda's actions, breaking from years of cautious diplomatic language to accuse Kigali of undermining peace and violating commitments under a U.S.-brokered peace agreement signed in Washington in December 2025. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Mike Waltz, told the UN Security Council that Rwanda is leading the region towards increased instability and war, and warned that Washington would use the tools at our disposal to hold to account spoilers to peace. This blunt rebuke came as the strategic eastern city of Uvira fell to the M23 offensive despite the peace deal, and followed similar statements from U.S. Africa policy officials calling Rwanda's continued military presence and support for the rebel group unacceptable, and urging Kigali to withdraw its forces and cease backing M23. Eastern Congo is one of the most resource-rich regions on Earth, rich in coltan, cobalt, gold, and other minerals essential to the global economy, yet its people remain among the poorest and most terrorized. Permanent instability creates opportunity. Chaos allows resources to be extracted without transparency or accountability. Proxy militias provide plausible deniability. By keeping Eastern Congo unstable, Rwanda positions itself simultaneously as both the arsonist and the firefighter, fueling violence while claiming to protect its own borders. This is not regional cooperation. This is strategic destabilization that benefits a narrow circle of political and economic actors at immense human cost. Kagame wraps this strategy in the language Western governments often praise: efficiency, stability, African solutions, and anti-colonial unity. He speaks of sovereignty and partnership at global summits, even as conflict rages across the border. But Pan-Africanism cannot be built on the displacement of millions of Congolese civilians. It cannot be preached while violating the sovereignty of a neighboring African state and undermining negotiated peace efforts. When rhetoric and reality collide, actions reveal the truth. Words of unity ring hollow when bullets and displacement define daily life. For years, Kagame benefited from strong Western support, particularly from the United States, where Rwanda was seen as a developmental success story and a key partner in regional security. That protection is now visibly weakening. In public forums, U.S. officials have voiced deep disappointment with renewed violence and highlighted Rwanda's responsibility for backing M23. Allegations that Kigali continues to deny even as rebels make territorial gains and civilians suffer. This shift in tone from Washington argues not just for concern, but for accountability and pressure on Kigali to honor its commitments to peace. African history offers a clear warning. Mobutu Sese Seko of Zaire was once a prized Western ally. He believed his strategic value made him indispensable. When his usefulness ended, he was discarded without hesitation. Kagame appears to believe he is different, more efficient, more strategic, more valuable. But history shows that every proxy eventually outlives its purpose, and loyalty from powerful allies is never permanent. When actions increasingly contradict words, when peace agreements are repeatedly undermined, and when international condemnation replaces cautious praise, leaders find themselves exposed to both diplomatic isolation and historical judgment. The cost of this ongoing destabilization is devastating. For Congo, it means endless displacement, shattered communities, stolen futures, and a nation denied peace. For Rwanda, it means growing isolation, mounting evidence, and increasing scrutiny from diplomatic partners once willing to remain silent. The more violence and instability Kagame is accused of enabling, the more he deepens his own political and historical liability. You cannot destabilize an entire region indefinitely and expect immunity. You cannot preach unity while practicing destruction. You cannot hide behind foreign alliances once they decide you are no longer convenient. The Great Lakes region does not need strongmen or proxy wars. It needs accountability, truth, and a genuine commitment to peace. Kagame can act arrogant, but history has a strange way of repeating itself. Power has a way of creating illusions. The illusion of permanence, of indispensability, of immunity. Many leaders before him believed their discipline, their efficiency, or their usefulness to powerful allies placed them above consequence. History proved otherwise. Arrogance often grows strongest just before the ground shifts beneath it. African history is filled with cautionary tales. Leaders once celebrated as stabilizers and strategic partners were later abandoned when their actions became inconvenient, indefensible, or too costly to ignore. They mistook temporary protection for lasting loyalty and control for legitimacy. When the narrative collapsed, so did their power. Kagame's posture today mirrors that familiar pattern. Public defiance, dismissal of criticism, and confidence that international alliances will shield him indefinitely suggest a belief that he has mastered the game. But history shows that no leader escapes the weight of their choices, especially when those choices leave trails of instability, displaced populations, and broken agreements. The more arrogance replaces accountability, the faster history begins to echo itself. Patterns repeat not because the past is identical, but because human power behaves the same way when left unchecked. What begins as confidence hardens into hubris, and hubris invites reckoning. History is patient. It allows leaders time to speak, to posture, to deny, and then, quietly and without warning, it reminds them that no chapter remains open forever. If you found this video informative, please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing to RetroPic.